Tonight's big story, several parts of the country reeling from the onslaught of Super Typhoon Goring. But even as Goring exits the country, a new storm is brewing on the horizon.
Local elections being marred by violence once more. COMELEC has recorded at least 2 killings of candidates for the barangay and SK elections just in the past 2 days alone.
And from TV and cinema screens to the House of Representatives, we will have on the show Leyte Congressman Richard Gomez to talk about the latest in his political career.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Hall.
And I'm Sean Yao.
We begin tonight on a grim note once more with the aftermath of Super Typhoon Goring in several parts of the country.
Heavy rains and landslides caused by Goring has affected thousands of residents in the province of Cagayan.
And as the province tries to recover from the storm, Balik Eskwela turned into cleaning operations first. What you are seeing now is a situation, or was a situation, over at the Simpatuyo Elementary School in Santa Teresita after the onslaught of Super Typhoon Goring. Since then, floods have subsided around the school. Students and teachers are now back, not for classes, but for cleaning. Instead of holding papers and pencils, they are holding rags and brooms, cleaning the desks and chairs. According to one of the teachers from the school, everything was all set for the opening of classes yesterday, but because the classrooms were submerged in mud and water, they are back to square one in cleaning. She also mentioned that their school usually gets flooded, and that is why they are hoping that the Education Department hears their plea.
High-rise building po.
Kasi pag ganito lang paano mangyayari?
Babaha talaga. Ganito talaga. Pag ganito yung rooms. So, dapat high-rise talaga. Sana po hindi na po umulan at saka hindi na po ulit bumagyo. Nababasa po lahat ng gamit namin. Tapos itong mga upuan. Para hindi na kami ulit maglinis.
Meanwhile, about 20 families in the town of Gataran were affected by Typhoon Goring after their homes were engulfed by a nearby river. Based on the assessment of Gataran LGU, the place is no longer safe for residents. And so, if rains start to pour again, they will have to order the residents to evacuate right away.
As for the town of Amulong, a body was found floating near the town's bridge. The victim has yet to be identified by authorities. Another incident, meanwhile, involves a 29-year-old fisherman whom authorities are searching for after going missing during the heavy rains of Super Typhoon Goring.
Let's check in on how relief operations are going over there in Cagayan. Let's find out from Jenny Dongon, who's joining us from on the ground. Jenny, what do you have for us?
Sean, the Social Welfare Department has already delivered relief goods to residents here in Cagayan. Isolated barangays have also been taken care of by the agency. As of the latest count, over 900 families or more than 7,000 individuals were affected by Goring. The problem for the people here in Cagayan, however, is not yet over as a new typhoon is approaching. Even though the typhoon is far from the land, there is a possibility that it will strengthen the southwest monsoon, bringing heavy rainfall once again here in the province. Sean.
Thank you for that update. News 5's Jenny Dongon.
Well, like we mentioned, though, it's not just Cagayan that was heavily battered by Super Typhoon Goring. Students had to wade through knee-deep floodwaters at the Mariveles National High School in Bataan due to the effects of the Super Typhoon. Classes in all levels of both public and private schools in the town have been suspended. Meanwhile, aside from flooded homes in Tagbak, Haro in Iloilo City, several establishments were also damaged due to a tornado earlier today. Several towns in Ilocos Norte were also flooded, including Barangay Dalastas in the town of Solsona. Rice fields in the town of Pidig were lost after a nearby river overflowed.
Super Typhoon Goring continues to maintain its strength as it approaches the northwestern boundary of the Philippine Area of Responsibility. The Super Typhoon was last located 185 kilometers west of Itbayat, Batanes. It is moving west-northwestward at 15 kilometers per hour with maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 240 kilometers per hour. Goring is expected to exit PAR tonight or tomorrow morning and will remain a super typhoon until Friday. With this, signal number 1 remains raised over Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Ilocos Norte, northern portion of Apayao, and northwestern portion of Cagayan. But while Goring is on its way out, strong winds and heavy rains continue in some parts of Luzon as tropical storm Hannah is forecast to enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Earlier today, Hannah was monitored 1,669 kilometers east of extreme northern Luzon, moving northwestward and will remain far from the Philippine landmass. Still, it may intensify into typhoon category within the PAR and may enhance the southwest monsoon starting tomorrow.
Moving on now to other news. It's been barely weeks since news broke about that road rage incident in Quezon City. But now we have another one, this time in Makati. Also going viral is this video of an altercation along Osmeña Highway last Friday. The footage shows a man holding a gun in his right hand while pressing down on a motorcycle rider on the ground. The man in white has been identified as Police Staff Sergeant Marsan Dolipas, who is stationed in Pasay. Meanwhile, the rider Angelito Rencio is allegedly a retired Philippine Army soldier. According to initial reports, the two had a heated argument after Rencio supposedly cut off Dolipas.
Dinuro-duro niya ako tapos pinag niya ako. Sinangat niya yung t-shirt niya. Nagulat ako nung nakita ko na may baril.
After seeing the rider's gun, Dolipas stepped out of his car and grabbed it from Rencio. And so now you're seeing him holding another gun in his left hand. Makati City Police took Rencio into custody but eventually released him.
Yung traffic kaya, no? Yung worsening traffic situation kaya, yung reason kung bakit nagkakainitan ulit ng ulo sa mga streets. And
Still, it's no excuse. I mean, it's an everyday thing
Di
that
lang
we
yun
have.
dalawa
And then
traffic.
the other side of the story is of course social media. I mean, we all encounter. I feel like we all regularly encounter road rage incidents, right? Pero ngayon,
Hindi
with
siya
social media,
nado-document.
correct. Now and the ex-cop, that incident with him, maswerte lang yung cyclist that somebody actually documented it, right? Otherwise, what proof does he have? So I don't know. I feel like whenever something like this breaks, people relate to it because we've all experienced it, and that's why it goes viral.
When I was hit by a car recently,
Oh,
the
yes.
first thing that I did was to bring out my
Document.
phone.
Yeah.
and document the whole thing.
And they were enraged by that.
Yeah.
So sinasabi, why are you videoing me? Why are you recording? You have to know that you have the right to record because you are in a public space. So I think that one is important to secure yourself in times like these.
Yeah.
But I guess question now is what happens after that? He was released by the police.
And will there be complaints that will be filed? We have News 5's Elaine Fulgencio for those answers. Elaine, what do you have?
Sean, the Philippine National Police has yet to find out why Rencio was released after the incident. The Southern Police District confirmed that Makati Substation 3 Commander and Desk Duty Officer have been relieved for letting the rider go even without a blotter report. So far, authorities are also trying to determine whether Rencio is indeed a former military personnel. According to investigation, Rencio has an outstanding arrest warrant for qualified theft. And right now, investigations will continue to determine the necessary complaints to be filed against Rencio. Sean?
Thanks for that update. News 5's Elaine Fulgencio.
Well, some developments on the other road rage incident involving ex-cop Wilfredo Gonzalez. The Supreme Court has confirmed that Gonzalez was an SC employee who was part of the staff of Associate Justice Ricardo Rosario. He was immediately fired after news about the incident broke out. New CCTV footage has turned up and shows what happened prior to the altercation between Gonzalez and the cyclist. Gonzalez was seen entering the bike lane, cutting in front of the cyclist. That's from the front view. He then exited the bike lane after a white van was seen crossing the road. Meanwhile, Quezon City Police Chief Director Nicolas Torre has resigned from his post following accusations that the QCPD had been overly accommodating towards Gonzalez.
That's a personal decision, yes. Because if I continue to hold on to the position, hindi titigil yan. Now that the criticisms are here, I would like to face them head on my own, and without dragging into the controversy the organization.
Right, and as we have been talking about, cases of road rage in the Philippines are nothing new. In fact, some have even resulted in deaths. We, of course, have the case of businessman Rolito Go, who shot an engineering student, Eldon Maguan, back in 1991. Go had been sentenced to 40 years in prison, but served only 25 years after the Supreme Court ordered his release. Inocencio Gonzalez also had a traffic altercation over at the Loyola Memorial Park in Marikina in 1998. He drew his gun, fired at the other vehicle, and hit a pregnant woman. And of course, there's also Jason Ivler, who was sentenced to 40 years in prison back in 2009 after shooting the son of former Presidential Chief of Staff Renato Ebarles Sr. Von Martin Tanto, a former Army reservist, also made headlines in 2016 for shooting a cyclist in Quiapo. And those are just some of the better-known cases of road rage around the country. And unfortunately, measures seeking to address this have yet to be passed. House Bill 1511, which penalizes acts of road rage, remains pending at the committee level. The bill cites the rising cases of road rage in the Philippines and calls for up to 6 years of jail time and 250,000 in fines for violators.
And after the break, we'll zero in on the recent election-related violence in the country as the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan election nears. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here. Story here on One News.
Over the last 2 days, 2 candidates for the barangay and SK elections were gunned down shortly before and after they filed their respective COCs or certificates of candidacy. In Midsayap, Cotabato, a suspected gun for hire shot and killed a candidate for barangay chairman of Malingao just as he was about to file his COC. That shooting happened in broad daylight yesterday, just outside the Municipal Hall compound. The victim was identified as Haron Dimalanes, a Moro community leader. Dimalanes was declared dead on arrival at the hospital. Authorities said this killing is likely connected to the victim's candidacy. And before that, an incumbent barangay chairman from Libon, Albay was also gunned down on Monday just after filing his COC. The victim was identified as Alex Repato of Barangay San Jose, who was shot dead by 2 men on a motorcycle right in front of his house. Repato sustained multiple injuries and died on the spot. The suspects are still unidentified. Authorities are still investigating whether the killing can be considered election-related, but for now, they consider it as an isolated case. Still, authorities have vowed to heighten security in the area.
Sa ngayon po, kinakausap po namin ng lahat ng mga may balak o nag-file ng COC. Kung sino ba sa kanila yung may threat sa buhay nila, may banta, para ma-address namin kung ano ba ang dapat na aksyon doon sa pagbabanta sa kanila. Para kung baga sa hindi na maulit yung mga ganitong pangyayari.
Can these killings be classified as election-related? Let's put that question towards COMELEC Chairman George Garcia, who is joining us live via Zoom. Good evening, COMELEC Chairman. Sir, naririnig niyo po kami?
Yes po. Good
There
evening
you
to
go,
all of
there you
you,
go.
good evening to the televiewers.
All right. Chairman, before we go into the killings, let's put this into context. Can you remind us again, how many years of service have these barangay and SK officers been in power? Kasi nakailang postponement na po tayo. Finally, matutuloy na po October 30 yung eleksyon. So, gaano katagal na po?
Depende po ma'am kung yung isang incumbent na barangay or SK official it has been there for the last 2 consecutive term, or perhaps this will be his last term. So in that case, maaari pong naandyan sila for the last 10 years. So gano'n na po kahaba. Ngayon, kung second term naman po, mga 7 years na rin po siya na naandyan sa position. So because of the postponement of the barangay and SK election, the last election was in 2018.
Now, I put that forward in light of these killings, and I know investigations are still ongoing, the suspects are still unknown, but according to what you're finding out, are these election-related or not?
Ma'am, any violence against any candidate at this point, once the candidate had filed his candidacy, will be considered always as election-related, unless there are proof or evidence to prove that it's personal in nature, but in the meantime, this is election-related. Everybody can be a suspect, and surely this has something to do with the filing of the candidacy or the attempt to file the candidacy of this particular victim.
May suspect na po tayo?
At this point po, wala pa. The Philippine National Police in Albay and in Midsayap, Cotabato had not yet officially reported to us on the possible suspects. But of course, the investigation is ongoing. What is important at this point is to prevent the occurrence of similar incidents in the future.
What's the next step from here, Chairman Garcia? Are you looking to declare these areas as election hotspots or no?
Surely, in the case of Albay, the possibility of it being declared under COMELEC control is that high, simply because the COMELEC officials in the area are actually recommending already for the placing of of Albay under COMELEC control of that particular municipality. In Cotabato, it's now under serious concern. In the next few days, ma'am, we are going to release the areas of serious concern and the possible areas to be placed under COMELEC control.
And then when you have them under control, what added protection can you provide both the candidates and the voters?
Well, number one, the COMELEC can always use additional forces or additional manpower, personnel coming from our law enforcement authorities, number one. Number two, we can always take over the management of the entire local government, meaning the LG will now be headed by the Commission on Elections, and it will be the COMELEC that will be discharging the legislative executive function in the area. And practically, we will have an absolute control of what will be happening in that particular area.
Right, Commissioner Garcia, apart from these 2 incidents in Albay and in Midsayap, Cotabato, there are another 2 incidents of violence recorded since Monday, which was the start of BSK filing. One of them was in Rizal in Maguindanao, and the other one also in Albay in Libon. Any updates on these? And as Reg has said, will you be considering these cases as well in your next steps on what to do before calling out hotspots?
Definitely, these are areas of possible serious concern and or under COMELEC control. But what happened in Rizal and likewise in the Bangsamoro happened, ma'am, before the filing of the certificates of candidacy. And therefore, this is actually, or these incidents happened outside of the so-called election period, and therefore cannot be considered for all intents and purposes as election related. But however, for purposes of the commission taking an action or control over the area, these incidents will definitely be considered. And we are now presently monitoring, according to the Philippine National Police, 27 areas in the country, whether city, municipality, or the entire province. But the Chief PNP already mentioned that seriously we are monitoring the Negros Oriental and of course the Bangsamoro.
All right, and these spots, Commissioner Garcia, what extra measures are being implemented as you have already identified? May extra measures naman na na-deploy before the start of filing?
Yes, ma'am. Ang kauna-unahan po na ginawa, siyempre, based din sa ating existing rules and regulation is the setting up of checkpoints. So yung po mga checkpoints, limited lang naman po yung mga PNP personnel sa visual search na tinatawag. And siguro po because of the increasing number of violence in certain areas, we're going to increase likewise the number of checkpoints that we are going to set up. Hopefully po, like for example, like what happened on Monday when we started setting up of the checkpoint, sa umaga pa lang we were able to apprehend 5 individuals caught bringing outside of their residences yung kanilang weapons, and so these were confiscated and they were arrested for violation of the gun ban. So aside from the checkpoints, definitely we will be having our quick reaction force, the PNP and the AFP, in order to ensure that immediately there will be a response to a particular incident that may or might happen in a particular area.
Chairman, nabanggit nyo gun ban, August 28 to November 29. Can you kindly clarify with us the rules? Because it is, sinasabi dito, prohibited to avail of the service of security personnel and guards. So para po dun sa mga kandidato, paano kaya sila magkakaroon ng security? How do they apply for this? What are your protocols?
That's right. Ma'am, when you say gun ban, all permit to carry outside of residence are practically suspended unless they are to give to anyone a certificate of authority, or what we call as exemption, and they will have to apply with the Commission on Elections here at the main office. And number two, if they wanted security personnel because of threat, because of serious threat against their lives, so we can always provide security. We can always stop the Philippine National Police. But of course, they will have to apply. Yung po may mga existing na mga security personnel or contingent, katulad po halimbawa ng mga congressmen, senators, they still have to apply for the security personnel kasi po lahat sila pinull out na ng Philippine National Police. So if they want to continue the services of these security personnel, they will have to secure permission from the Commission on Elections. Now, when it comes to the justices of the Supreme Court, cabinet secretaries, undersecretaries, the senators, congressmen, all of them are exempted from the gun ban.
And then lastly, before you let you go, Chairman Garcia, I wonder if you could give us an update on the dispute between Makati and Taguig. I know you've transferred the constituents of the 10 Embo barangays. Peaceful naman. Wala naman election violence.
That's right, ma'am. We made a decision, number one, that the filing of the certificates of candidacy po ay mangyayari sa Taguig, and that happened since Monday. Lahat po ng Embo barangays, yung mga tatakbo doon, whether SK or barangays, officials or candidates, they filed their candidacy sa Taguig po, Convention Center. Number one. Number two, we caused the transfer of all the registered voters data from Makati to Taguig. It's quite easy. There's no need for a general re-registration of voters of the 10 Embo barangays. And likewise, we are now finalizing the operation plan for the purpose of allowing our voters to vote po doon sa mga eskwelahan na traditionally doon sila bumoboto, doon sa former, sa mismong Makati, kung saan sila originally located as jurisdiction. So yan po yung mga ginagawa na nating hakbang, kasama na rin po yung coordination with the PNP personnel and the teachers who will be serving. Take note that under the law, only the teachers of Taguig can serve as electoral board members. And so, therefore, all the teachers that were transferred from Makati to Taguig are now considered as likewise residents of Taguig, and therefore they can serve as electoral board members for each and every precinct.
Okay, Chairman Garcia, since nandito ka na lang din, no? Balikan ko lang, you mentioned kanina na Negros Oriental, isa sa mga hotspots na binabantayan nyo. As we know, may power vacuum doon ngayon. Ano po yung plano sa Negros Oriental ngayon na wala na po or na-expel na si Congressman Teves?
Number one, ma'am, on the issue as to whether the COMELEC will postpone or not the barangay and SK election in Negros Oriental, will be releasing our resolution or decision on that matter before the end of September. Number two, on the issue of the special election, indeed, this afternoon, in our en banc session, we already approved the conduct of special election in the area by December 9 of this year. And so there will be a special election to be held in that area for purposes of filling up the position vacated by the former congressman, as you have mentioned. So meron po tayong special election. And the COMELEC will now be making the necessary preparation for that special election.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for joining us, COMELEC Chairman George Garcia.
All right, the Olympic dream. Moving on now from the COMELEC to sports matters because it's still the World Cup and our Olympic dream is still very much alive. Or should I say that was Gilas Pilipinas' Olympic dream. Now, despite going 0-3 in the group phase, Gilas will now be duking it out in 2 classification games that will ultimately decide its fate in the FIBA World Cup. From Group A, the team will move to Group M, where the hosts will go up against the 2 teams from Group B, which did not make it past the second round. At stake in those 2 remaining matches could be a spot in the 2024 Paris Olympics, where the region will be represented by the highest-placed Asian team in the World Cup. As things stand, the possible opponents of Gilas are either Puerto Rico, South Sudan, or China. Gilas, though, will have to catch up to co-host Japan, which has the head start in the classification phase thanks to its upset win over Finland in the Okinawa phase of the group matches.
Super motivated. I think from the beginning we've been motivated. Our team is strong. We fight. Like, we ain't giving up throughout the whole game. We haven't really felt like we've been out of any games. And we fighting. We strong mentally, and we're gonna put it together and try to get these 2.
As for Gilas head coach Chot Reyes, he has apologized to the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas Chairman Emeritus Manny V. Pangilinan for the team's performance in the World Cup so far. This was revealed by MVP himself, one day after Gilas lost its 3rd and final group stage game versus Italy. Still, Pangilinan commended Reyes and the rest of the team for putting up a fight and doing their best during the games.
Nag-text sa akin si Chot late last night with only 2 words. Sabi niya, sorry, boss. Hindi pa ako sumasagot kasi hindi ko alam kung ano sasagot. I told the folks at sa mga basketball that we should really dissect the issues that as to why we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve.
We'll be pausing for a quick break, but don't go away because up next, you might know him as Goma, but we call him Congressman. We will be speaking to later Representative Richard Gomez about his political career and his impressive cooking skills when we return. Keep it here on One Youth.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Our next guest is a first-time congressman, though he is a household name. It just took him 21 years to get to the lower house, but here he is now, the representative of the 4th District of Leyte. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Congressman Richard Gomez.
Hi, how are
Ulitin
you?
ko, Congressman Richard Gomez.
Yeah.
Do you like the sound of that?
Yeah, I've been wanting to be representative, but I was a two-term mayor of
Yeah,
Ormoc City. So,
of course.
and then siguro people wanted to see what I can do, what I'm capable of,
But finally, the
giving it
people of
people.
Ormoc gave you this chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave them what they needed also.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
two-way thing, right?
Yes.
And how has
Palaban
life
yan
been
eh.
in Ormoc?
Huh?
Diba? You spend a lot of your days there.
Yeah, especially when you're a mayor, you're 24/7.
Yeah.
My biggest problem when I was a mayor was really the drug problem of the city. And, we were once tagged as the, what do you call this, parang the drug den of Region 8.
And
we
you
were-
were
Is that
like,
true?
from the 90s, if I remember correctly, you've always been anti-drugs. I
Always.
remember those anti-drug campaigns.
I organized an NGO called the Mamayan Ayos sa Droga, MAD.
Mad.
Yeah, and we were, at a very young age, I was really an anti-drug advocate.
Wait lang, let's talk politics first.
Yeah.
Politics first.
All right?
Whatever happened to KNP, Kilusan ng Nagkakaisang
Pilipino?
Pilipino, which you helped set up, is it still alive?
It's still alive, but it's still with the COMELEC, and the COMELEC has not acted on it yet.
Why is that?
We're just waiting. Actually, that KNP is really a political party to support the presidency of BBM. Me, as a congressman, personally, I like the president, and I want to see him succeed until he finishes his term in 2028.
So hindi ba kayo accredited at the moment?
Well, not yet.
Because
COMELEC will still have to finish the resolution.
isn't the idea for this party that this is the vehicle that President Marcos will use to field a senatorial slate in 2025? Yun ba yung original idea?
If it becomes a party, there's a possibility, but they're toying with the idea of using the PFP as their political party.
Party, the Federal
That's still okay
Philippines.
with me.
They are open to joining the PFP.
I have no idea. They haven't spoken to me about it yet. Yeah.
But if they did, and that door is
We
open,
can sit down. We'll see. Right now, I'm with the PDP Laban.
No, but you personally, would you, kasi di ba with PFP, there's rumors that Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos might
Yes.
be tasked to lead it.
Yes.
He left the Nationalista Party already. Now he's with PFP.
I-
If you were asked to come over, and
I do not know the mandate of the PFP, what they really want to do, because PFP stands for
Partido
Partido
Federal ng
Federalismo.
Yes.
But federalism is not moving. So I don't know if they're going to move now that they're active.
Pero sinabi rin ng Pangulo that federalism has its first steps now in all aspects but name. Your thoughts on that? You were for a hybrid type of federalism.
No, I filed a bill in Congress for constitutional convention. Yeah, I really want charter change. I think it's about time that we change our constitution.
What's the progress of that?
Well, it was a good fight in last March, but it died in the Senate. Siguro yun ang magandang pag-usapan. Ano pa, bakit ba ayaw galawin ng senador yung CHATSA, yung charter change? What is it with them? In the House, more than 300 of us voted for charter change. And there are only 24 senators. I don't know why they do not want to at least take it up.
They said that
if you get
there's
your way,
cons.
if you get your way with charter change, exactly what kind of changes
All
will we expect?
I want is just the economic provisions. Yeah. Ang gusto lang natin is maging mabuti yung buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Magkaroon sila ng trabaho. May mapumasok ng mga investors dito sa bansa natin.
So
That's basically
liberalizing
what I really want.
to open up the economy?
Yes, yeah.
But
All
not,
of us
but
want.
not federalism.
Not through federalism. Kasi ibang usapan yung federalism, ibang usapan yung charter
Hindi
change.
pa tayo handa doon?
Federalism?
Oo, ayaw
Honestly,
niyo talaga.
you know, when I was a mayor, we were sent by the government to Washington. We were there on a 2-week seminar to talk about and learn about federalism. And honestly, federalism will not work for the country. Because we're not a rich country. Only the rich countries can run a federal form of government. Ang magsusurvive lang sa Pilipinas is NCR, parts of Bulacan and Tarlac, maybe Cebu,
Cebu,
maybe
Davao.
some Davao. But the rest of the country, especially the smaller municipalities, they will not survive.
Because they won't be able to raise their own revenues.
Doon makikita mo lalo yung separation ng mahirap at saka mayaman. It will be a failure.
Dahil
According to what we learned.
They all rely on IRA, di ba?
Yeah. We're not a rich country. We rely on the national government. Well, most of the municipalities and the cities rely on the national government's help through the taxes that that is allocated to each and every municipality and city.
Wait lang, sorry. Before we move on, I just wanted to come back to the question about KNP. Iiwan nyo na or it's still moving along?
It's still there.
Okay, you're going to
Actually,
push for
what we're doing, we had a meeting yesterday, and what we'll do is that we'll still take care of the small organizations of the president. Marami silang organizations na wala pang direction. So yun ang gagawin namin. Gagawin namin sila ng direction. We'll just move towards what the president can do, how he can improve his presidency.
Pero you're still gonna push na mabuo itong KNP.
Well, right now it's hanging with the COMELEC.
You have the president's backing for this party?
We were there when we met with him. He was there when we met with him.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did he say?
We'll do that on another interview.
Hindi pwedeng ganon. Hindi pwede. Kung naman, we can't leave it like
No,
that.
he likes the KNP.
Okay.
He really likes it. He likes the people inside the KNP. Pero yun nga, hindi pa tumatakbo until it's approved in the COMELEC. Then
So cross the
that's what's going to
bridge pag
happen.
nandyan na, kumbaga.
So he could use
So-
it potentially for 2025.
Possible. If he's not going to use PFP, he can always use KNP. But like what I said, it's still with the COMELEC.
Okay. Kong, before we move on to the fun stuff, I just wanted to check in. We did have DAR Secretary Estrella here,
Yes.
I think a few weeks ago. And of course, pumasa na yung bill na in-author ninyo, yung Agrarian
The
Emancipation. Can you tell us, masaya ka ba? What led to you authoring? Kasi people would think Richard Gomez, susulat ng no? Agrarian reform na bill.
I filed so many bills and a lot of, well, the suspension of the barangay elections, I was the primary author for that. Itong celebrate natin in the election. Well, for the emancipation bill, we must remember that during the time of President Aquino, meron siya yung agrarian reform program. Ang ginawa nila, nagbigay sila ng titulo dun sa mga planters. No, they gave a CLOA na you've been working in this land, you've been tilling this land for so many years, then the government will award you this title. Ang tagal na noon, hindi na nagmo-move. So with the emancipation law, talagang ngayon, wala na silang babayaran sa land bank, they will get their title, they'll be able to own that land, they'll be able to work on that farm.
Was your work as a mayor in Leyte, in Ormoc, was that what helped you, kumbaga, push that? Kumbaga, yes.
I realized that a lot of farmers, CLOA holders, are not able to till or work on their land na binigyan sila ng titulo because the former landlords never allowed them to enter. So now what DAR needs to do is to install them, no, give them the i-identify yung eksaktong lugar, saan yung land nila, and they do not have to pay any fees sa land bank anymore.
But it's
So
also a
once
problem.
it's installed, kanila na talaga
But it's
yun.
also a problem of resources, right? They don't have machinery, they don't have money for
Economies of
fertilizer.
scale also matters.
So there is a good side and bad side to the agrarian reform program. We all know na for agriculture to be successful, economies of scale. So kailangan malaki talaga. You cultivate hundreds of hectares para maging successful. Pero ito na yung naabutan natin Kinalakihan natin. Ito na yung binigyan ng gobyerno ng panahon na bata pa tayo. So let's work on this. This is what we have now. So what do? Now the land is awarded to small farmers. We need to educate them. We need to teach them how to financially manage their funds, the little funds that they have, how to use it to plant, to let it grow, to harvest, and then recycle their money.
May plano ba kayo how to do that and implement that in Ormoc? Of course, as we know, si Lucy is mayor,
Yes.
and then your congressman, that should make things easier. What do you have plans for the small
As a
farmers
local
there?
chief executive, that's actually part of the agricultural programs of a city or municipality. Kasama talaga yun. Tinuturuan yung farmers how to plant, how to be efficient, how to take care of their money. and then how to manage your expenses. Kasi dati, konting pera lang, lika, inom tayo. Tapos wala na. Tapos na yung harvest. What they'll do is to get money, they will pawn their land. Tapos hindi lang mababayar. Mawawala yung land sa kanila. And then
Alam
they'll go
natin
back na.
ang Leyte daanan noon ng
Ng
mga
bagyo.
bagyo.
Yes.
Ngayon hindi na, puro Cagayan na,
Up
puro
to now,
nasa
ganun
taas
pa
na.
rin.
Anong kinakaharap na challenge ng Leyte on
Well,
the
with
environment?
disasters, ganun pa rin. Nag-iiba lang yung panahon. Pag medyo lumamig na, so ngayon medyo mainit pa eh. So kaya nasa taas pa yung bagyo. But once it gets cold
Pag
up there,
months na,
everything will
bababa
go down naman. That's why if you remember Yolanda, we were hit by Yolanda in November of
Sa amihan season yan kayo.
2013.
20 years ago. Yeah.
Alright. Kung, speaking of the environment,
Reclamation though, may issues kayo with reclamation, right?
Yeah.
sa
Oo.
Palompon, di ba?
Oo,
Yun nga yung tatanungin ko.
You know, as congressman, nung mayor ko, I only take care of Ormoc City. I make sure that our environment is good, our protected areas are being protected by the government and by the people. But now that I'm a congressman, my scope is much bigger. And pag may nagre-reklamo na tao, I cannot turn a blind eye and sabihin, wala akong pakialam dyan. No, people came to me, may mga reklamo sila, so I have to take a look at it. And there's a valid reason for me to come up with a congressional investigation and inquiry in aid of legislation. So that's what I'm doing now.
Investigation into the reclamation projects.
Into the
It's actually in your
environmental
watershed.
violations of companies and people and the government officials encroaching in protected areas of Palumpon.
So, Kong, sinumbong yun sa'yo?
Sinumbong sa amin.
Yung parang development doon sa Palompon?
Yes.
So you didn't, kumbaga hindi mo alam until may nagsumbong sa'yo and you
Sinumbong
just
ng mga
acted?
tao, and then I took a look at it. Sabi ko, meron bang probable cause? There was probable cause. Tinignan namin, investigate namin, there was. So I filed a House bill in Congress para tumuloy-tuloy yung investigation. And we found out that ang dami talaga. Ang daming problema sa Palumpon. Yan, no? Tinatapon yung, imagine, there's this one company, tinatapon nila yung mga bituka ng manok.
Yung chicken waste, ito
mga
nakikita
feathers,
natin ngayon.
yung mga sludge nila.
We're looking
Yan,
at the
no?
pictures.
And they're throwing this in protected areas, in watershed. Why do we need to protect the watershed? Because lahat ng water natin, doon ang gagaling sa bundok. If we do not protect it now, people will say, in the years to come, walang ginawa yung mga opisyal natin.
Sino ba nag-approve ng projects?
That is under the DNR. Now, the DNR already moved 2 of their regional directors to another area. Pero it doesn't stop there. The DNR, the secretary, should file cases against this government employees. So now, there's still an investigation ongoing. All of this, yan, protected area yan. Yan yung nakita namin. Sinama kami ng mga tao to show us na ito yung nangyayari. And these are all chicken waste. These are all infectious waste. They do not have a sanitary landfill. They have an open dump site. And since puno na yung open dump site nila, they just throw it kung saan nasa tabi ng kalsada. Yeah, that's how bad it is in that municipality.
Kamusta naman ang working relationship ninyo ni House Speaker, who of course we know is also from Leyte?
Yes.
Yes. Ang dami yung congressmen from Leyte. Are you all together, at least on this environmental front, especially after what happened to you guys after
Not
Yolanda?
really.
Not really?
Not really.
Oh, can you
You'll be
elaborate?
surprised that in spite of the good thing that you want to do, may kumukontra pa rin. Oo. But congressman from another area, kamag-anak naman ng mayor.
Okay. Pero okay kayo ni House Speaker?
Yeah.
UN.
Yeah, the speaker is pro-environment.
What
Alright,
about
and pro-development.
what about your relationship with President Marcos? During the elections, you were one of the first prominent personalities to throw your support behind him.
Yes.
And at that time, you said he was madaling lapitan,
Yes.
madaling kausap. You still get to
Up
see
to
him a
now, it's
lot.
still the same.
Yeah.
You want to come to the president, he'll be there to listen to you. Yeah. Especially if yung pag-uusapan niyo is something good for the country. But siyempre sa amin, good for our district and good for the province.
You've been so passionate about the drug problem. You even filed a bill reviving death penalty.
Yes.
But that's different from the approach of the president. I mean, have you been able to discuss that?
Well, the death penalty is something that we need to take up in Congress. Right now, I'm the vice chair of the Dangerous Drugs Committee, And the task given to me was to amend the drug law. Mahaba yung drug law, ang dami kailangan ayusin.
Are you working on that currently?
I've been working on that. And ang dami, mahirap talaga. Ang hirap. The nitty-gritty is so detailed.
Ano po masasabi niyo sa drug problem natin ngayon with the new policy, new direction of the current administration as compared to the past?
You know what? I'm very happy that the president announced it during his SONA that he wants to continue the fight against drugs. Ako talaga yung unang pumalakpak. Sabi ko, oh my God. Yes. Let's continue the fight against drugs.
Bakit
But
nga
in a
ba you were
different way,
so...
though. In a different way, as Gretchen was saying. He's taking a
Okay,
different
okay lang
approach to
yun.
it.
Kasi naalala ko, you were so passionate na parang kailangan
Up to
talagang
now,
iron
up
fist
to now, I'm
sa
still
ganun.
very passionate about it.
Alam mo, sobrang tagal. For as far back as I can remember. Kasi may tarpaulin malapit sa bahay ko nung
Mad.
nung Mad. Ang laki niya. Tapos red and black, di ba?
Yes.
And blue, yun.
Yes.
Malapit sa bahay ko. Every time paglabas ko ng village, nakikita ko siya. Now, why are you so... May pinaghuhugutan ka bang experience? Did you have a bad experience with maybe a loved one who
No, because,
nanalo?
because when I was young, I saw a lot of friends, a lot of people who were into drugs. And, you know, I'm in show business. Marami rin akong nakita na taong nasira sa drugs. You know, not even before Shabu days, madami.
Pero
And
okay
it's
lang
not
sa inyo
really
yung
good.
okay lang sa inyo yung approach ng presidente na rehab. Let's make them better.
Yeah. That's being implemented by the LGUs now. We started that during the time of President Duterte. I can speak for Ormoc City. We set up our own drug rehab program, and then yung mga nagbabalik loob ng mga users before are classified into three: mild users, medium users, and heavy. Yung mga heavy, yung permanently damaged already. Ibang case na yun. Now most of them are being sent to the mental hospital, ibang klaseng rehab din. Pero yung mild at saka yung medium, kaya pa.
Usapang sports muna tayo.
Sige.
Teka lang.
Oo nga, sabi ko nga.
Kasi
Kasi lahat ng pupunta dito, since FIBA World Cup, tinatanong natin, Grace.
Anong tingin mo? Nanood ka ng
I
FIBA
watched
World
that.
Cup? What do you think about our national team? Why has it gone this way?
No, it hasn't gone that way. Lumakas na yung mga kalaban natin. And us Filipinos, you know, we're not known to be 7-footers. Maswerte tayo that we have Kai Sotos na mga 7+, you know, but basically,
What's missing?
Our average
What's
height
missing?
is just 5'10".
Do you think it's just height?
Of course.
It's just height?
Of course, height is mine.
Medyo pumapantay naman na tayo.
Hindi naman lahat ng players natin ganun kabilis. Hindi naman lahat ng players natin ganun katangkad.
What about our grassroots programs? We know you've been pushing and
Yeah.
rallying for higher budget for sports.
Yeah.
As we know, everyone knows this.
Which is
Mahilig ka sa
teka lang,
sport.
ang PSC budget is just 210 million next year from 2.31 billion.
Yeah.
And next year is Paris Olympics year.
Exactly.
So why
That's a massive cut.
You know,
why? What happened?
the request of PSC was 3.3 billion to run all their programs, to run all their MOEs, and DBM gave them 0 for ang tawag dito? For
the
capital outlay.
Okay.
What is capital outlay? Ito yung importante capital outlay. It's like your studio. Ito yung studio mo. Pag walang capital outlay, you will not have funds to improve it, to fix it pag may sira. Pag may tumutulo, wala kang funds. 0 ang binigay ng DBM
Bakit
sa
daw?
kanila.
Bakit tinanggal?
I don't know. Maybe there is a disconnect. Because I heard that during our conversation with Chairman Bachman, sabi niya, meron naman kayo natatanggap from PAGCOR. And PSA is supposed to receive 5% of the net profit of PAGCOR. But in reality, PSA only receives 2.5% of the net profit of PAGCOR.
Would you know where the other half goes?
Well, I don't know where it is. No. Maybe they use it for other programs. Pero sana, mabalik yung 2.5 para 5%. Kasi yung 5% din, yun ang ginagamit to fund our athletes when they go abroad, when we hire foreign coaches, when we buy new equipment, you know. Tapos yung capital outlay, kailangan talaga yun because like for example, the Rizal Memorial Baseball Stadium, it's so dilapidated. The last time na inayos yun was in 1938 pa. Kailan ba natin naayusin yung pag wala na talaga?
Magwa 100 years.
Siguro isang malakas na bagyo pa, lilipa rin na ulit yun.
Nag-champion na tayo sa softball. Oo, bakit di naman tayo mag-invest
Yeah,
sa mga
that's
sports
why
na yan?
us in the Committee on Youth and Sports, we spoke to the speaker yesterday and we asked him if he can help us adjust the budget of the PSC, increase it.
What
Kasi
did Speaker
as
have
we
to
speak,
say?
as we speak right, I'll get there. As we speak right now, wala pa tayong budget for next year's Paris Olympics.
Ay, nako. You're gonna have
That's
to push for
terrible.
that.
That's
but
terrible.
So we asked the
unfortunately,
speaker, you really have to help the PSC.
Game naman si
Yeah.
Speaker.
The speaker was really
Unfortunately,
surprised. Said,
yeah.
okay, let's see what we can do about it.
Okay, Kong,
The
wala
next
tayong-
sorry,
Kong, wala
we're
tayong
being
oras.
told to wrap up. Sorry, we didn't
Pero-
even get to your cooking
Okay.
vlogs. I'm so sorry. Wala nang time. We'll have to take it offline.
Juliana's
For now,
professing career.
thank you so much for joining us live, Congressman Richard Gomez.
Kulang pa rin, ano?
Okay, tatawagan ka na lang namin for a follow-up.
Anytime,
Ano yung
anytime,
mangyayari
call
sa
me.
budget?
na pala.
Anytime.
So meron tayong konting seconds for our big picture tonight. Di ko to pwede palagpasin. And that picture is Italy's coach Gianmarco Poteco sending out some love during their match versus Gilas, Pilipinas. This was taken during late in the fourth quarter when Gianpaolo Ricci hit a shot clock beating 3. Coach Gianmarco, being the hype man that he is, sent out this puso to his player. There is puso para sa bayan, puso para sa team, and in this case, a heartfelt appreciation from a coach to his player for a job well done.
Gianmarco, a.k.a. Gerard Butler. No, we have to end the show with a good-looking athlete.
No. We
Sabi
have
natin
to.
yun.
Hindi ba, doesn't he qualify?
Kaya nga, he does. Tema natin yun.
With the trophy.
Oh,
That's
yes.
an achievement.
No, hindi man tayo
And
nanalo
that's your
sa World
achievement.
Cup.
Yeah.
Meron akong hawak na trophy. Unfortunately, hindi to sa akin. Congratulations, Gretchen. Kay Gretchen. Babalik ko na sa kanya.
Salamat. Awarding ulit.
Okay, she won the 11th
You
Professional
awarded it.
Management Association of the Philippines, or PMAP Annual Makatao Awards for Women in Action. Of course, hosted by Gretch and airing on 1PH. And it won as Best Public Affairs Show. But, sige, ikaw
Hindi
na
lang,
nga
hindi
rin.
lang ako.
Hindi lang
Hindi
siya.
lang ako,
Si
nanalo.
Regina rin.
Nanalo din ang The Chiefs for
Yes.
Best Public Affairs Show
Galing.
hosts. And, syempre,
The
yung ano,
network.
best.
TV5.
This,
That's right. The TV station of the
TV
year.
Station of the Year.
Pati yung,
Radyo
True
5 nanalo
FM.
din, pati yung Alagang Kapatid. Na,
Correct. At syempre, lahat ng anchors ng election special natin called Short Take,
Short
na-nominate
Take.
din
Na-nominate din.
for Best Public
That's
Affairs
true.
Show Host. So congratulations, kasama si Regina doon. At syempre, Ed Lingao, Patrick Paes, Manny Magoto, at Jovi.
Syempre, maraming salamat sa Signal, sa ating mga boss dahil sa kanilang patuloy na paniniwala at suporta. We can only execute these ideas because they are supportive of it, right?
Exactly.
And that's our win for tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.